when did this all begin, would you say?
2018, 2017 or 2018 when I had cancer, and it happened while I kind of, there was a piece by Heather Brunskill-Evans. I only know this because I found it out after writing the book, and I tweeted it, and I said, look, this is what I think about trans issues, because there were things floating about, all the witch finders were noticing the likes and all that sort of stuff, and they were reporting to the other members of the mob, and I thought, okay, for the first of many times, I just have to explain what's going on. Children are being mutilated and sterilized. Women are being harassed for talking about it, and talking about their own rights, and women's sports are being destroyed. And Heather Brunskill-Evans' piece covered a lot of this. And I just thought, as I always thought, and I thought, as I say, a billion times since, this will show people that it's not bigotry, or it's not like hatred of marginalized people. This will show people that actually you need to stand up for the women in your lives, by opposing this stuff. And nothing ever worked. Nothing ever worked. So the Heather Brunskill-Evans piece, all that did was ignited a kind of a burner under my reputation. It just as soon as I came out as a TERF, there were thousands of people just attacking me, or TERF ally, I should say, and it just continued. And I thought, I'll share this story about this young detransitioner who regrets what she's been through. And that will show people that this is something you should be talking about and taking seriously. And that didn't work either. Activists would find phrases or the way I'd express certain things and screen grab it and share it and give their own, always the very, as the way they work, the very worst interpretation of everything you've said. In fact, they even used a joke I did to my wife where I said, "Don't call me a misogynist, you bitch," something throwaway like that,
Yeah.
And they screen grabbed that and used that as an example, that I was a misogynist. So, what was shocking was I went from being quite well liked because of Father Ted and the IT crowd and Black Books and all the sitcoms I'd worked on, that I thought were fondly enough remembered that people would actually look into what I was saying and join with me and kind of make the case that we should be at least allowed to talk about this stuff. But all I got was dead silence from everybody. Everybody would be nodding as I told them. I'd be telling Arthur, my old writing partner, or Neil Hannon, or Chris Morris, or Amanda Iannucci, actually no, I never spoke to Amanda Iannucci about this. Sorry, these are all British comedy personalities, so you won't know them. But you're telling them, and they're going, yes. But when it comes to the crunch, they're dead silent. And in fact, when they had the opportunity to stand behind me, my colleagues, Arthur Matthews, Neil Hannon, Jimmy Mulville, on the TED musical, all decided to throw me under the bus, just kind of, I was absolutely at the end of waiting for them to speak up and say, hey, this is obviously all true. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's obviously all true. Men cannot turn into women. Men should not be allowed to go into women's spaces. Children are not born in the wrong body. Children do not need to be medicalized out of any mental condition they have.
Yeah.
And nothing took for these people. They just nodded, and then when it came to it, no help at all,
I wonder if you think, it's such a disappointing thing to learn about people. I had similar experiences in Vancouver. Although I think in terms of what you were saying at the beginning, which is that, you know, you just thought, if I just explain this, then people will understand. And I'd felt that way about before I started speaking out about the issue of trans activism and gender identity ideology. Before that really came up in the culture, I had been doing so much work around prostitution and getting brutally attacked over that. And I kept thinking, if I just explain my position, then they'll understand and they'll stop attacking me in these ways, that are completely lacking in intellectual integrity to start, and never mind the unnecessary vitriol. So I think I already was sort of used to the not understanding, but the lack of people standing with you, you know, the people bailing on you and abandoning you, in many cases, people you've known for a long time, sometimes just acquaintances. I mean, but for me, it wasn't everybody. It was some people, and that was bad enough. But there were some people also who did stand with me. For you, do you think that that kind of total abandonment had to do with the industry that you're in? You know, is there something about TV or the arts or something?
Yeah, I had one early on. A computer game designer wrote to me, someone who was involved in quite a big game that I enjoyed, and they said, and this is, I think, true of people who work in entertainment in one way or another. And he said, I've got a whole studio. All these people's lives depend on me. I can't say anything publicly. Because, you know, I have to think of them. And the reason that it's so bad for the maker of this game is because, you know, these games live or die by online reviews. So trans rights activists can do their usual thing of swarming and creating a false impression around the thing. And you know, that's kind of that's what people saw. Well, I don't know. It's a very weird thing, but basically that's what happened to me. I was just swarmed. And as you say, there was no integrity to any of the accusations. There was nothing behind them. And I thought, because these people were my friends and also my colleagues, that they would look into it, and they would say, oh, hang on a sec, this is bullshit. This is all bullshit. Like, for instance, I put this in the book, but a funny thing that happened with Neil Hannon was Neil Hannon said, some of the things you've done, he said to me on the phone, some of the things you've done have been questionable. And I said, give me an example. Give me a single example. And there was a pause, and he said, well, outright, maybe not. So you have people who you've known for your whole life, right? I reviewed Neil Hannon's first album for Select magazine. It was one of the first big reviews he got in the UK, and we've been friends ever since. And you have someone who knows you that well, who's that close a friend, and they can't even look up what it's all about. They can't even find out what I've been accused of, so they can pretend that I've done something wrong too. They didn't even have enough interest to do that. And it is, I think of what I feel like I'm kind of a normal person in terms of how I think about friendship, you know? And I think of what would have happened if it had been the other way around, and someone I knew was being hurt and losing their livelihood and losing everything. And they would just kind of not look into it, you know, and never have an opinion on it, you know, and pretend that my view, which is, and I won't go through the full list, but, you know, children shouldn't be mutilated because they walked, as one writer put it, they walked down the wrong toy aisle, you know. It's an absolutely disgusting scandal. And no one cared enough about either the own women, the women they have in their own lives, or me, to actually speak up, to say, hang on a sec, this is insane, you know? So it is galling and it is bizarre. And I still feel like I'm sleepwalking through all this because I took a bet on people. I thought, no, people are good. People will see these young detransitioners with no breasts, you know, who ruined their health with testosterone, and they'll see and they will say, no, this is something that we really urgently needs to be talked about. And Graham, you know, looking into it, Graham appears to not be just, you know, a bigot, but they couldn't do it. None of them could do even that tiny thing, you know. And as a result, and the thing is, it would have only taken a few people. If Arthur had said something, if Neil Hannon had said something, it would, you know, there would be a much wider debate going on right now. But because the people who speak out, like myself and Rowling and whoever else, because we're always isolated, we're allowed to be just kicked to death in full view of everybody.